Let's go on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Maddie, come on. Maddie, come on.
And say, oh, now we can become priests.
Hello, hello.
Hi, Saba.
How are you guys doing?
Good, you?
Great.
Let's see, I'm gonna put you guys in gallery view. There we are. Okay. Max, I can't see you if you're, no worries if you guys don't want to turn your videos on. I'm just, there you are. Cool.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Wait.
There we are. I see you. You see me?
Oh, Max. Hi, Max.
Hello. First time using Zoom.
Good.
Welcome.
I like it.
Yeah,
It's
it's
good to
neat.
see you. Good to see you. All right, let's see here. Alrighty, we're gonna start today. We last week we talked about the temple, the Holy Temple, its symbolism, its meaning, its sanctity, its uniqueness. If you guys hadn't had a chance to be there last week, I highly encourage you guys to go look back at the PowerPoint that I sent back. I'm gonna try to find a way to send the recorded video as well. So now we're going to talk about the priest. And how he gets ready for the Divine Liturgy by putting on the vestments, what each of those symbolize and what they mean. So before we shift over to that, I just have a small little PowerPoint here on the actual priest. And we're going to start with that as our introduction. Alrighty. So we'll start with our prayer and we will start. Thea Melanie, would you like to read this prayer for us?
Okay. Shine within our hearts, O Master who loves mankind, with the pure light of your divine knowledge, and open the eyes of our mind that we may comprehend the proclamations of your gospels. Instill in us also reverence for your blessed commandments, so that having trampled down all carnal desires, we may live a spiritual life, both thinking and doing all those things that are pleasing to you. For you, Christ our God, are the illumination of our souls and bodies, and to you we offer up glory together with your Father, who is without beginning, in your all holy, good, and life-giving Spirit, now and forever, and to the ages of ages. Amen.
Man.
Amen. Amen. All right. All right. So, see some introductory remarks. So, first off, Christ is the priest. He is the priest par excellence, and by reversal of that, the priest is Christ. Whenever you encounter a priest, you are literally encountering Christ himself. Therefore, the hand of the priest is not his own. It is actually the hand of Jesus Christ himself. We receive Christ's blessing through the hand of the priest. This is why when you go up to a priest and you say, Father, bless, he doesn't say my blessing, but he says the Lord's blessing. Because that's what we're receiving, is God's blessing through the priest. And so when we kiss the hand of the priest, we are actually receiving the grace of God. That is why we kiss it. Another thing here I wanted to mention, St. Nicholas Cavasius, one of the many fathers we could cite, says Christ's hands are pure, which means that the hand of the priest, Father Nick Halkias, Father Nick Gambus, no matter the priest who it is, their hands are pure. And that's why it is erroneous to believe that you can get sick from kissing the priest's hand, because you're not kissing his hand, you're kissing the hand of Christ. And Christ does not infect us, gives us healing and life. Within the context of the liturgy, then, if the priest is if he is Christ and Christ is the priest, that means Christ is the one who is celebrating and carrying out the divine liturgy. St. Simeon says Christ with his own hands carries out the holy sacrifice of his own body and blood. He is the one that we see doing all the actions within the divine liturgy. So on the left, for example, right, you see a priest giving communion to you, but in actuality, it's actually Christ. It's actually Christ himself who is giving you his own body and blood. And that's why in the liturgy we say, you are the one who offers yourself and are the one who is offering, right? He is both offered and the one offering, offered and offerer. And that's what St. John Chrysostom says in his liturgy, as well as in his writings. Says, when you see the priest giving you communion, do not believe it is his own hand that's stretched out, but it is the actual hand of Christ himself. So those are just some basic introductory remarks I wanted to make concerning the liturgy and the priest. And now we're going to shift gears over here to the actual vestments. Are there any questions, comments before we start?
No.
Alrighty. All right, so you guys can see this clearly, I assume. I have my monitor here on, that's why I'm looking the other way. I'm not looking at the stars. All right, so yeah. So this mannequin was actually provided by one of my aunts, so I thank her for that. so that we can drape it with the vestments of the priest. And I'm going to grab my iPad for my notes, which I'm going to be emailing you tonight, after tonight, when we're done. Put some nice pictures and icons throughout it, and nice and colorful and all that. So a little bit introductory remark here. Vestments, they were actually commanded by God himself to be worn by priests. Exodus chapter 39. Why? They are a way to honor and glorify God's own beauty. That is why vestments are so richly decorated, to honor and glorify God's own beauty. Vestments are holy. Ezekiel chapter 42. They are holy. And not only are they holy, but they are able to transmit holiness and grace to us. That is why the priests, not just the priests, but all of the clergy, they kiss the vestments before they put them on, so that they can receive the grace of God within them. One could recall also that in the book of Matthew, chapter 9, there was a woman who was hemorrhaging, right? She was bleeding for many, many years. She couldn't stop. No doctors could help her. And she saw Christ in the crowd, and she said, if only I touch the bare hem, the edge of his vestment, I'll be made well. And indeed, she stretched her hand out to touch the hem of his garment, and she was immediately healed. So that's why, if you ever notice in liturgy, perhaps you guys have done it yourselves, when the priest is walking around the church for the great entrance with the gifts, or any time that you are able to see a priest with his vestments, always try your best to, if you're able to, try to touch his vestments as he walks by, even if you can, try to grab it and gently pull it in to kiss it or wipe it with your face. A lot of it's a very pious custom, so that we can also receive the grace of God, the healing grace of God from the vestments. So those are some basic introductory remarks, and now we're going to get into the beginning. So the first article of vestment that is placed on the priest, tonight we're talking about the priest, is called the sticharion. The sticharion. And on each of these vestments that are placed on the priest, he says a prayer, and the prayer is actually a citation. It comes from the scriptures themselves. So when the priest puts this sticharion on, he kisses it, puts it on, and he says from the book of Isaiah, chapter 61, my soul shall exult in the Lord, for he has clothed me with the robe of salvation, and with the garment of joy he has covered me. He has set a crown on my head like a bridegroom, and like a bride he has adorned me with beauty, always now and forever into the ages of ages. Amen. He puts it on. Usually, traditionally, this garment is white, right? It's usually white. Does anyone know why that might be? Why is that on purpose, that we would have it as white?
Because the color symbolizes purity, or because when the anytime God appears or an angel appears, that it's a glowing white and a brightness that people have to shield their eyes from. Maybe guessing, still guessing.
That's a great guess. Anyone else? Anyone else? All right.
It stands for the same thing, purity.
Yeah. Exactly. It's that purity, light, right? The light of Christ that's shown on Mount Tabor at the Transfiguration, which we celebrate, which all of us receive every time we receive Holy Communion, because Christ is light, and now we have Christ himself within us. We have the light of Christ in us. And we too can shine with that light. Other times, however, you're going to see that depending on the season of the year, right now we are in Great Lent, so it's purple. The bottom can also be colored according to that feast, right? So tonight, actually, these vestments I'll be showing you, this comes from, if you guys knew Father Anthony Spiritos from Sejarambos, he actually passed down to me a few of his sets after his passing. And but tonight I'm going to be showcasing actually my father's vestments, and this is his purple set, the Sicarion, and you can see very plain and simple and modest, right? Because Great Lent is a time for modesty. It's a time for self-control and things like that. So again, it can be colored according to the time of the year. Let's see. So purity, right? The light of Christ, and also, what does this remind you? Typically, what do we do after our baptism? What are we given?
Put on white,
Yeah,
a newness. Everything is new and clean and pure.
right. Yeah, exactly. So it's to remind us of our baptismal robe and all of the purity and innocence and holiness that we received. And of course, we have to keep this clean, not just the vestment, but our soul. We have to keep our soul pure and clean, just as you would, say I was out in the mud today because it's raining and I got dirty. Of course, I'm going to go throw my clothes into the wash. I don't want dirty, smelly, yucky clothes. So in the same way, we have to keep the garment of our soul pure and clean. So much more so. Let's see what else. Back in the olden days, in the time of Byzantium, everyone wore this kind of garment. Everyone. It didn't matter if you were a priest or not, everyone wore this. This is also the garment that the deacon will wear. It's the long robe that he wears, right? The sticarium. All right. Now we're going to, oh yes, and one more thing from the baptism service, we hear, and it's from Galatians chapter 3. Galatians chapter 3, St. Paul says, as many of you as have been baptized into Christ have what? Finish it. Have put on Christ. Yeah, I'm seeing, yeah, Mrs. Gervais and.
Sorry, I've been on mute. I was going to say light too, but I don't know what.
Yeah, no
Have
worries.
put on Christ. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I was on mute.
No worries, no worries. So that's that. Now the next article of vestment that the priest puts on is called. Anybody know? What is this called?
Stole.
Yes, that's the English word for it. Does anybody know the Greek word?
Refresh our memory.
Uh,
Why don't you tell us?
Told me yesterday. God.
Starts with epsilon. Epitrachilion. Yeah. Yeah. Epitrachilion.
Right?
Yep. Epitrachilion. Right?
That's right.
Yeah. Epitrachilion. And for those of you good in your Greek, can you break that word down for me? What do you what's the if you break it down, what do you think that means?
Okay, so
Epi would be the outside, and helion is probably the inside. I don't know.
does it have to do with like the Diabolos that we use in here?
Epidafion.
Well, we have you guys were right on
Too.
one part with the word epi, which means outside or on.
Right.
On, yeah, like that's where. Yeah. What's that?
Angel's wings?
No, we're actually I'm going to mention that in a second here. Close though. So
I don't know.
yeah, so the word epitrachilion, the word epi upon trachilion or trachilion.
Your
The
neck.
neck. Upon the neck.
That neck was Lamos.
This is ancient liturgical words.
Okay.
We're
It's
way
another
back
language.
before that.
It's another language.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, so epitrachilion upon the neck. Why? Because it literally will be placed over the head onto the neck, just like that. All right. One thing I want to mention here that Max just mentioned, thank you for that, because I actually would have forgotten, is the deacon. Okay, the deacon has this big long robing thing, right? The thing that goes across,
And the
right?
altar,
Yeah,
yeah.
the sash.
Yeah,
Sash,
and he holds it up like this when he's praying.
yes,
Does
yeah.
any- yeah. So sash is a good word for it. What would does anybody else know the actual liturgical word for it?
No, but I also know that he changes it.
Yeah,
He changes it during the Lord's Prayer.
right.
He flips the side that
I
the
know,
sash.
I
I was
was
going to
gonna
ask
ask
you
about
that.
that. I was
That's my
gonna ask about
question
that,
is
'cause I
why does
always
he do
wondered why
that?
he did that.
Yeah.
What's that, Mary?
Why does he do that?
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna ask too. I've been wondering every Sunday.
So
Nice.
Max, you mentioned something. Do you know what it is?
I don't. I
Okay,
wish I did.
so the way Deacon Carrick has explained to me is that when the deacon is holding this up and he's praying to Kyrie eleison and peace let's pray to Lord, like all these petitions, it symbolizes angelic activity. When the angels are present and they're praying and they're doing their business and they're helping us and they're worshiping with us, this is to symbolize angelic activity within the liturgy. And if you guys were there last Thursday, we talked about how in the temple, even outside of the time of liturgy, just in the physical building, the temple, there are a multitude of angels within it. And so that's one thing. Another thing is also in the olden of days, and technically we still do this today, like in schools, you know, can anybody tell me what 1 + 1 is? Two, right? Right? You're lifting up your hand to speak. I want to talk. Hello. Right? So in the ancient of days, back in the old days, if you wanted to talk, you would raise your hand up. So when the deacon is praying, he's lifting up his arm to show that he's praying. And when he's not, it's down. Right? Now, when he crisscrosses it in the shape of a cross, I don't know if you have ever noticed that. It's on here. And then after the Lord's, or during the Lord's Prayer, right? During the Lord's Prayer, he crisscrosses it in the shape of a cross. Subdeacons Billy Pullis and Philip Saftorides, that's usually what they look like in general, because that's the mark of a subdeacon. But for the deacon, he purposely does this because it's in the shape of a cross, because pretty soon the consecrated body of Christ, right, is soon going to be broken apart. The bread, the body of Christ, is going to be broken apart and placed in the shape of a cross, because at that point we're actually experiencing Christ being crucified and sacrificed on the cross. So he makes the sign of the cross with his vestment by crisscrossing it in the shape of a cross, right? There's also a practical purpose to it, insofar that when he places it in a crisscross, right, it's out of the way and everything's tucked in, so that when he goes to give Holy Communion, it's not, his vestments are not getting in the way of things, right? Everything's tucked in and secured, so not, he can safely give Holy Communion. And another historical mark about this is that the word orarion, that's what he holds out, the deacon holds out, it's called orarion. It's actually a Latin word, and I forget the breakdown of the word, but essentially, back in the day, the deacon's vestment, the orarion, actually used to be the old communion cloth. You would receive Holy Communion, and then you would wipe your mouth with it.
Wow.
It would go over your mouth and you would wipe your mouth after you receive Holy Communion so that in case there's remnants on there, you don't want it to spill or whatever. So, two practical purposes historically. But back to the priest, right? Epitrachilion, the stole upon the neck is what it means. This is really the distinctive garment of the priest. When you see this, you think he's a priest, right? That's the garment that distinguishes the priest from the deacon.
Don't the Catholics have something similar to that for their priests too? I feel like
I'm not really sure. Maybe I really haven't studied their stuff yet, but maybe.
probably not. No. I feel like
They
seen-
wear vestments, but I can't remember to
Yeah.
what degree.
Have they ever? Did they wear? I think I've seen them wear them at funerals, if I'm not mistaken. Like,
Oh, okay. Yeah,
like-
maybe.
like I think I've seen some of them do that.
Yeah, maybe. I haven't
they're
really
not
looked at it.
They're not like ours. I think they're more like just one plain color.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah. Let's see here. It is, so it is the vestments of the priest, and you'll notice, if you notice, at the end of the epitrachilion are all of these tassels. Kind of hard to see, maybe. Are these tassels, and all of these represent the souls of the parishioners that the priest has been entrusted with to take care of. And I've been told that if a parishioner no longer is Orthodox, if they've left the church, you're supposed to cut off.
Oh,
Oh my,
wow.
Very
So-
dramatic.
Yeah.
wow.
But hey, Sab, I have a question. If someone leaves the church with their baptism, though, their hair, all that ceremony that takes place during the baptism, I was told that little bit of hair that they cut off somehow physically becomes a part of the church. So technically, can they ever spiritually leave the church?
Yeah. I mean, once you leave, you've left. Now, of course, you can come back, right? Of course, you can come back. But there's really no thing about where you're kind of out but kind of in, like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. There's really no such thing as that in the church. Now, in the Catholic Church, that's what they teach, that somehow you have partial membership as, for example, you can be Orthodox and also Catholic at the same time. Some Protestants teach that as well, but it's a very Western idea. It's not Orthodox at all. And the epitrachilion is usually kind of heavy, right? And you feel it in your neck. The priest feel it in his neck, like something's really, weighing him down because of the responsibility he's been given. It's such a huge task to take care of people's salvation, not just his own, but theirs as well. And he's going to be held accountable by God for all of these souls, So that's the symbolism of that. I'm trying to think what else, if there's something else I had in mind. Also, something interesting to take into consideration is that Christ, I think in 1 Corinthians somewhere, St. Paul says Christ is the head of the church, and we are his body, right? We are his body. We are his members. And the priest is kind of like this mediator between God and man, between Christ and the church, and really, the priest is Christ's presence on the earth. And that's he's kind of the bridge between us and God, or we're connected to Christ through the priest, and we receive the grace of God through the priest, right? And just as it flows, just as this flows down, in the same way, grace flows down from above, from heaven to us through the priest, through the church. And the prayer that he says when he puts this on is from Psalm 133. Blessed is God who pours his grace on his priests, like the myrrh on the head that ran down the beard of Aaron, down to the hem of his garment. Always known forever and to the ages of ages. Amen. So yeah. In the Old Testament, I believe the priest used to be, when you were made a priest, you were anointed with oil, I believe, historically. So that's that. All right, the next article. The next article is, does anybody know what it's called?
A belt.
It's a zoni.
Yes, exactly. We have the Greek and English representative represented tonight. Good. So zoni, belt, the prayer that the priest says when he puts this on is, blessed is God who girds me with strength and makes my ways perfect. Always now and forever into the ages of ages. Amen. Which is also from Psalm 133. And it represents or symbolizes the strength of God. Right? The strength of God. And the reminder that the priest must rely on God for strength. It also symbolizes modesty and self-control, because where it is placed is actually around the stomach, which is kind of the center of all of our desires. The center of all of our desires. And so, whenever our desires and our urges are out of whack and we're not in control of them, we become very disorderly and we become like animals. And we lose track of our goal as Orthodox Christians. And the need for self-control, that we can master our desires, master our passions, not to be slaves to sin. Also represents watchfulness. And the practical purpose, again, we're always being practical in the church, is that you see everything is contained and, right? Nothing is flying all around the place, especially if it's windy, you're going to have everything flying all over the place. This keeps it all secure and in place so that the priest does not have everything flying all the way around and doesn't get in the way of things. All right, Zoni. All right. Now the next part is, does anybody know?
The sleeves.
Yes, the sleeves. They're called.
cuffs.
Yep, the cuffs. I'll
Oh,
come a little closer for this one.
Epimanikia.
Yeah, in Greek it's epimanikia. Epimanikia. Can anybody tell me what the Greek, if you break that down, what does that mean? Epimanikia? Epi, upon?
Sleeve.
Yeah, upon the sleeve or upon the hand. Yeah. So that's what it looks like. Right, and it goes over the wrist, over the sleeves. I'm actually gonna bring this in so that way when it's recorded, we can actually see the demonstration much clearer. There we go. Sweet. All right. So that'd be Manikia, and these go on the right and left hands of the priest. And again, he says prayers for each of them. On the right hand, he says, your right hand, O Lord, is glorified in strength. Your right hand, O Lord, has shattered the enemy. And through the multitude of your glory, you have crushed your enemies. Always now and forever into the ages of ages. Amen. That's from Exodus chapter 15. So he puts that on his right hand, and then on the left, he says, I forget, and I forgot to write it down. I think something about your left hand has fashioned me and created me. Teach me your statutes. Teach me your statutes. So we're always talking about obedience, right? Obedience to Christ, subjection to Christ. So that being Manikia means over the hands. And this is to remind us that, as I just got done saying not too long ago, Christ is the one who serves the liturgy with his own hands. With his own hands. It also signifies the power of God, which created everything. Just as we create things with our own hands, the hands of God made everything. And it's also symbolic of Jesus's wrists, which were tied with a rope and then nailed to the cross. And they are also symbolic of a reminder, really, to the priest to rely on God for strength and for help. And just as the sticharion was worn by everyone in Byzantium, so too the cuffs were as well. Everyone wore cuffs. And they too serve a practical purpose, because when they're covering the sleeves of the sticharion, right, you see how big this is, and could get in the way of things, knock things down or over or whatever. Well, the cuffs keep it contained. See? So it doesn't interfere with everything. All right, and the next part, the second to last part, is called, does anybody know what this is called?
Nation.
The patent?
What's that?
I don't know. I was thinking patent, but I'm thinking something else.
Yeah, epigonation. Yeah, and the priest puts this on his right side, which is very symbolic. Can anybody tell me why? If the priest is Christ and it's going on his right side, anybody tell me why?
Because he sits at the right hand of God. Christ sits at the right hand of God. We do everything with our right hand.
Oh,
That's all I got.
It's called epigonation because it has something to do with kneeling.
say that one more time. It has to do with what?
Does it have anything to do with kneeling because it's called epigonation?
Not that I'm aware of, no. But no, actually, yes, you're right on linguistically, yes, because epi, upon, gonation, the knee. Yeah, that's the breakdown of that, upon the knee.
That's where it's placed.
Yeah, and that's where it's placed, is upon the knee.
Dava,
Yes.
I have a question. Sometimes I notice that the priest has a different epigonation. They have, or is it just that they change the design on it? So sometimes, I don't know if it's with a feast day or it's not the same one that they wear all the time.
Well, in some traditions, like in Serbia, Russia, trying to think where else, maybe they have it looks kind of square instead of a diamond shape. Is that what you're referring to, maybe? A little bit?
Yeah, no, and also the image on it changes, unless it's just the priest. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you'll
Yeah,
see
so
like an icon on it. Yeah,
So
sometimes.
is the epigonation then unique to the vestments that are, so you know how they change often, but this is standard, so I don't know why that changes. Like right there, it's a cross, but I have seen like for I've seen it with other images on there besides a cross.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if that is just aesthetic or if it's symbolic of something else.
Epigonation is given to the priest after so many years of service, and he's recognized with that aspect that the bishop has given him this title. So
if he changes from or from the second priest to proistamenos, would he would get a different epigonation?
the only time that a priest will get an epigonation is if he is a proistamenos. Now, the different colors that you mentioned, that could be because this set was ordered and he got the purple, let's say. In other cases that you see different colors, they were given to him from another set that he had ordered, and he could have put that one on. That's why you see the difference.
Yeah. And also with the if it's like, for example, if it's Christmas time, you might see like an icon of the nativity, or during Pascha, you might see an icon of the resurrection. So that can also depend as well on it. So let's see what else. The
But wait, Asava,
huh?
what your dad just said, Father Peter. So every priest doesn't have it, only if they're what's the word he said?
Proistameno,
First time, yeah.
a proistameno.
Means the head
What's
priest,
that?
But-
What's it mean?
proistamenos, which means the head priest, but
Uh,
they have to have so many years of service, okay, into the church before the bishop recognizes them.
Okay,
Usually,
because I think our Father Nick from Holy Trinity, he just recently got that. I remember him saying that to us.
right. Well, and it could be, some priests get it at 10 years, some priests get it at 11 or 12 or 15. It all depends on the metropolitan and what he does and recognizes the individual priest.
Yeah.
Understood. Okay. Thank you.
Interesting.
Some other really neat information about this is also that this actually used to be a bag in which the priest would carry around with himself, and inside of it was money and food, which he would give to the poor and needy.
Right.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. It's also shaped like a sword, which goes back to Ephesians chapter 6, which says that the word that the word of God is like a two-edged sword, or that the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, and the priest uses this against the wiles of the enemy, uses scripture, Bible, against the wiles of the enemy. It also is symbolic of Christ's power and victory over death, sin, and the devil. Hence, it's in the shape of a sword, like Christ is a warrior. And that through that victory, Christ gave us the gift of the resurrection because of his own sinlessness and purity. And it also is symbolic of the patience of Christ, which he showed in his sufferings, and when he was pierced on the right side, out came blood and water. That's why it's on the right side. And the prayer that the priest says this is, gird your sword upon your thigh, O mighty one, and in your splendor and beauty string your bow. Prosper and reign because of truth, meekness, and righteousness, Your right hand shall lead you wondrously, always now and forever into the ages of ages. Amen. And I believe that is also in the book of Psalms, but I forgot the citation here, so I'll have to look for that later. So yeah, that's the Epigonatio. And we have one more vestment article. Does anyone know the name of it?
The cape,
Yeah.
Oak, the robe,
the robe, the robe. Well, they're
The
all
robe.
robes. The robe.
Called the Phelonion.
the what?
I'm sorry, say
Oh.
again?
Belonion.
Salonion.
Right.
Wow.
Lonion.
Is that purple or okay? It's purple.
Yep,
It looks maroon to me.
It's purple.
It's purple. Okay. I'm wearing purple. Just looks.
Mhm.
It's the icon of Panagia with Christ.
I can't see it. Okay.
So this is the last article he puts on.
Salva, is this material all linen or what's does it matter what the material's made out of?
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
You know. But the colors change year round depending on what we're celebrating. So, or what holidays we're celebrating, what the year is, the time of the year. So purple is worn obviously during Great Lent, red for Christmas, gold is usually in September, October, usually just during holidays of joy, gladness, and rejoicing. Black is for Lent as well. Blue is for feast days of the Virgin Mary, Panagia.
Green.
Green is for Pentecost. You can also
I've
wear
seen white.
Yeah.
I've
White.
seen white.
White for Pascha and also days of celebration, days of joy and feasting. Green can also be worn at baptisms or chrismations because the coming down of the Holy Spirit at Christ's baptism and the giving of the Holy Spirit through Holy Chrismation, and Pentecost, the Holy Spirit coming down as well on Pentecost. You could also wear red on Pentecost because in the book of Acts, chapters 1-2, we hear about the Holy Spirit descending on the disciples in tongues of fire.
Yeah.
I think that's really all the color schemes of the year. So yeah, this is the Philonion, and it's the last article vestment. And so the prayer the priest says is from Psalm 132. Once again, your priest shall be clothed with righteousness, and your saints shall shout. They shall shout for joy, always now and forever into the ages of ages. Amen. The Greek word philonion, actually, I believe this is the breaking down of the word, because it's what's used in the scripture. If you go to 2 Timothy chapter 4, St. Paul is talking to his son Timothy, and he's saying, bring back with you my philonion, my cloak or my coat, which I left with so-and-so Carpus of Traus. And so this is the kind of the scriptural standpoint that we get from the word philonion. It's used in scripture, and so that's probably the first reference you're going to find it. The other thing is also that there is in scripture as well, Psalm 22 and Matthew chapter 27, in which Christ was given a scarlet robe to put on, all right, before his crucifixion. And then it was taken off, and it was gambled for amongst the Roman soldiers and the Jews at that time. They were kind of mocking Christ. And it also can symbolize, I believe, in the Jewish temple, that the veil of the temple had been actually kind of cut in two after Christ was crucified, and so it's also symbolic of that. What else? Let's see. Also symbolizes God's love for us. Right? God's love for us, which was expressed in the crucifixion of Christ. And it also symbolizes that the priest, when he puts it on, it is the gift of the Holy Spirit that is given to him. And this is yet again one of the distinctive garments that the priest puts on, which really kind of lays out and marks out that he is a priest, right? And of course, I'm going to find here for all of us, the lighting might be better on the other side. I'm going to find many times, depending on your rank in the priesthood, you can be given a special pectoral cross, which is given to various priests, and when they have served the church for so long, or have so many various responsibilities that they have to take care of, they will be rewarded with the pectoral cross. And of course, it can come in various sizes and shapes and colors and designs. This is my father's.
It's beautiful.
It is beautiful.
So Saba, is there anything that prohibits you from wearing your dad's robe? I mean, or from one priest wearing another priest's robes? Is there something?
No.
Okay, good. Well, that's good to know.
Yeah. These are all have been handed down to me. So God willing, they'll be put to good use.
Yeah. You know, you were talking about all these pieces and the prayers that were said, and with what reverence each piece is put on in the dressing process. And it seems to me that with all of these things, with all of their purposes, that there is also a spiritual purpose, that the priest is spiritually like putting on the armor of God, that all of these protect him while he's doing the liturgy as well, spiritual.
Yeah. It's very true. I mean, the whole purpose and the point for all of the vestments is, again, to make you feel, it's to kind of convey this reality that the priest is not his own self. Like Father Nick is not just Father Nick. Father Nick is Jesus Christ. You know, Jesus Christ is really and truly present in the liturgy through his priests. And so all the vestments, all of them are supposed to convey that reality that Christ is amongst us. Christ is amongst us in and through his priests. So he is wearing these garments because he is Christ, right? Because he is Christ. And it also is symbolic of how, it's the lighting, how, you know, all of us have to emulate Christ as well. All of us have to become like Christ, have to become little Christs. And that we that the priest, when he is serving, he must be approaching with purity, with humility, with all these various virtues, because he is supposed to make Christ present. So yeah, there's definitely that spiritual dimension to all of this.
With this long process of putting on the garments and the meaning and everything, doesn't the priest need help? Is there an assistant that helps him, like the deacon or one of the altar boys or something that helps him get dressed?
Well, typically, I mean, I don't know if it's done in any other jurisdictions. In our jurisdiction, in the Greek diocese, we don't really do that. But when the bishop comes, we have helpers to help the bishop. They actually vest the bishop himself. The deacons will typically do that, or if there's no deacons, then you do it. You have the altar boys do it. So in any case, yeah, there are definitely helpers that come to help the bishop. For priests, typically not, unless they really need it. But usually that's reserved for the bishop. So that is, I forgot to actually put it on. So yeah, so now the priest is vested and ready to serve the Divine Liturgy. And again, we have to remember that Christ is the one who is serving the liturgy. He's the one that's serving the liturgy. Let's see if I can pull this a little closer. Yeah. Let's see. What else? Oh, and so after he's done vesting, he will go to wash his hands. He's going to wash his hands, and he's going to say this prayer from Psalm 26. I will wash my hands in innocence, so I will go about your altar, O Lord, that I may proclaim with the voice of thanksgiving and tell of all your wondrous works, Lord. I have so loved the habitation of your house and the place where your glory dwells. Do not gather my soul with sinners, nor my life with bloodthirsty men, in whose hands is a sinister scheme, and whose right hand is full of bribes. But as for me, I will walk in my integrity. Redeem me and be merciful to me. My foot stands in an even place. In the congregations, I will bless the Lord. And so washing his hands is symbolic of the purity which is required by priests to celebrate the Divine Liturgy. It also is symbolic that the priest has no enmity, he has no anger, he has no resentment toward anybody, and he has tried his best to be at peace with all people. And he is going to be celebrating with pure hands, a pure heart, a pure tongue. And he prays that God will make him worthy to celebrate the Divine Liturgy. And at that point, he then will dry his hands and go on over to the protheses on the left-hand side of the altar, the little niche, and begin the service of proskymedia, the service for preparing Holy Communion. So that is tonight. Any questions, comments, thoughts, feelings, anything?
That was great. Learned.
I was curious. When you were 3 years old and you lived in Canada, did someone make you a set of vestments?
Yes. So yeah, my family. I have some family up in Canada, and when I was little, they actually made me small little priest vestments and whatnot. Yeah.
Still have them?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
I'd like to see them. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Sav, I have a question about the services that we've been attending this week. If you don't mind going
Yeah.
off point. I'm I don't want to say frustrated. That's not the word. I think the services are beautiful and I can't get enough. This is my favorite time of the year. But I'm a little frustrated with there being so many different books, like for a service. Like last night we went to church and everybody was on. It seemed like everybody was on a different book, reading a different book.
I couldn't follow that book. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's sometimes a little, you can catch up and the I have like my mother's, so I mean it's like way different, but so there's confusion as to when to sit, when to stand, when to kneel, when to move, and then sometimes there are huge chunks of the service that aren't even in the book. There's like 3 or 4 hymns that they do, and you're just looking at the readings, but it's
Scrambling to try to find them in
Thank you.
that book.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
And I know there were what, 6 of us there last night, where like everybody's reading it from a different book.
I gave up.
Yeah. So I don't know. Is there? Do you have any suggestions? Any just you try to go with it, but sometimes it's like where are we? Where are we supposed to be doing?
The only one that I found, Carol, I don't mean to interrupt, but
No,
is the pre-sanctified liturgy. And I have, as I told you, I have a spiral pre-sanctified book, but I think my mother I still have to go through her things. I can't find it. And it was spot on every page, the Greek,
Wow.
the English, spot on. Oops. But
Wow.
the other services though, the Heretismi,
Mhm.
the comp line on Monday, that my books work okay. It's the pre-sanctified that is, to me, frustrating
Mhm.
because I don't have the right book.
Yeah.
And it's not the one that's in the narthex. Yeah. In my opinion.
Yeah, there's so many different English translations and they're constantly being revised and stuff. I don't know. I mean, I would just and usually no matter the text you have, you can pretty much tell the similarities or the similar lingo or synonyms that they're using and stuff. So, I would just follow along as best as you could. And, even with the Greek, sometimes younger generations that don't know the Greek or can't follow the Greek, I don't know, I guess on one hand you could say just study the service more so that way you're more aware of what's going on, and so that if you see or hear one thing that's going on, you'll be like, okay, I know exactly where we are.
Yeah, you flip-flop. If you flip-flop from Greek and English, you can catch up if you can.
Yeah, I know the
You can catch
services. I mean, I know the services, but it's like it just sometimes you just would like to be singing along with the chanter or singing the responses, and it's just that. And then when you get to Holy Week and everybody's following that same black book, then you're good. You're good again. I don't know. Maybe something for the church to think about doing.
Yeah.
I can understand and sympathize your frustration. What actually some of the priests have done is taken one version that they're all following, and of course they have made booklets and so forth, especially with the pre-sanctified. That is the most difficult one to follow.
Yeah.
And put it in order that everyone that is attending follow that book. Now, Father Halkias, what he does is he does print out a pre-sanctified liturgy booklet, both in Greek and English. And of course, the parishioners have a chance to take it to their pews and follow along. So basically, I think all the priests need to do that. If not, then we need to have our archdiocese go ahead and make something that's going to be uniform that everybody will be using.
Yeah. That's probably the best way that you could, solve it, honestly. But even some, like, the translations are always changing.
Yeah.
And you can easily print them down or print them off online. And like, and that can be such a frustration too, because it's like sometimes, for example, this past Sunday I was chanting, and for instance, it says aspazumen dos stavro, and the word there is to kiss. We kissed the cross. We were celebrating for the Feast of the Cross, and the English translation I was working with was using this old archaic term, salute. I'm like, why are we using an archaic term nobody even understands? I mean, if you're really paying attention and you hear me say, yes, we salute the cross, but like we don't literally like salute the cross. So I was translating it as kiss because that's what it actually means. Salute's just it's a synonym, but it's an older archaic word. And so that's always a frustration. And sometimes they'll even put in words that are not even there in the Greek text. Like there was this one hymn that said, "Let us all come to the church today and kiss the cross and honor," and so on and so forth. And I looked to the Greek, and you know what the Greek said? It says, "Cheris" or "Here stavre," or rejoice, O cross. It didn't say anything about let's come to the church. And I mean, like it says rejoice cross. It doesn't say let us come to the so but the other difficulty with translations is that sometimes they are also trying to fit it according to the music, the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah, hard. That's hard.
There's always that battle between keeping the correct translation and also fitting it according to the way the music is sung.
Right. Yeah, no easy trick. I know.
We'll get it one of these days.
Yeah, one of these days. Good. That's good. Okay.
Any other questions, comments, thoughts?
That was great. Again, an excellent
Yeah.
presentation. Bravo.
Alrighty.
Always teaching us. We're always learning.
Yeah.
Thank
And
you.
One
Thank
thing
you.
one thing I had actually forgotten to mention at the beginning was that before the priest even puts on his vestments, he actually does a service in front of the icon wall, the Iconostasis, in which he kisses all the icons and says these prayers to each of them. And that service, does anybody know the name of that service?
It's like pre-orthos. Is that like before?
Pre-preparation.
Yeah.
What we call in Greek, Kairos.
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 And there's a video or two that I'll send on your way from YouTube that explains that a little bit better than I could. But basically, it's just a service that helps prepare the priest to go into the altar and begin the liturgy and stuff.
Well, I have a question, Saba.
Sure.
Every priest, all these vestments, like Father Peter, those are yours. So do the priests actually buy them and they're theirs? They don't keep them for the next priest, correct?
They're yours.
They're yours to keep.
Buy them,
Okay.
right?
Okay, I wanted to know that. Thank you.
Now I remember there was my second or third Pentecost at Holy Trinity. The ladies of Corais, there were some of them that were excellent seamstress. They made a beautiful, beautiful velvet vestments that after I celebrated Pentecost and so forth with the bishop, when I left Holy Trinity, of course, I left them right into the church. So when there was another priest coming and he was a visitor, or let's say that he didn't have vestments at this point, he could very well use them. Okay, but that's an exception. And, but they were left behind because the ladies had made those for me. Of course,
Understood.
I could have taken them because they were a gift to me.
Yeah, it was a gift.
I wish you would have. I have another question. So each priest has to buy their own different colors as well, right? They can't just buy one set.
No, no.
Okay,
There's different sets that, like Sava explained, the different colors and so.
right. Okay, so that's up to the individual priest to purchase those.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
They can get quite expensive too.
Mm.
It all depends on the material that you get and where and how they're made and so forth.
And where do you get them? Do you have to go to New York? I mean,
Greece.
oh, Greece.
In Greece, but there's places in New York. There's
I
places,
would have thought, yeah.
the places in Toronto, the places in Boston that you basically can order them. And if they don't make them there, then they order them from Greece.
Yeah.
Cool.
Hey, Saba, a question about the black robe that the priest wears in between services and when he's at just doing meetings and everyday stuff that's not liturgical. Is that still called a staccato?
No, that's that garment is called a cassock. What's the Greek word? I forget, not the cassock. I'm trying to think of the Greek term. I can't remember, but anyways, that's called a cassock, and that's his priestly garment. So yeah, there's also like during Vespers where the priest is only wearing typically the epitrachilion. Sometimes on great Vespers, they'll have the epitrachilion and the philonion on. But underneath of that is this black robe that has really big sleeves. It looks like a judge's cloak. That's trying to think of the word for that.
Exorason.
Yeah, the exorason.
I also noticed that the altar boys go to the priest and he blesses their robes before they put them on, correct?
He actually doesn't bless the robes. He blesses the altar boy.
Oh, he blesses the altar boy. And I also noticed the altar boys, when they come and listen to the sermon, they lift it up. They're not allowed to sit on the robe or on their. It's respectful, not sit on the robe. And That's the only reason. It's just out of respect.
out of respect, and it's easier because it's hard sitting in that robe too.
It's the same reason why some priests, when they sit down, they pull up
Mhm.
the philonion, because if it has crosses on the back, you don't want to be sitting on the cross. So yeah, it's a matter of respect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good question.
Good question.
It's like it's the little things that matter, you know. So yeah. So next Thursday, 6 p.m., Father Nick Halkis is actually going to be joining us here on Zoom, and he's going to be explaining to us and a demonstration of proscomity, of preparing Holy Communion and how that's done, and explaining all the symbolism of everything and whatnot. So that's I'll be sending you guys some resources. They are not required beforehand, but if you want to kind of get a sneak peek or get a general idea of what we're looking at, I highly encourage you guys looking at some of those things. So yeah.
Okie dokie.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys next Thursday.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
Thank
Be
you.
safe.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
night.
Mac.
Stay safe. Love you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.